Why do you hate the line that at work means being your own boss so much?
I think that I can make a podcast only for answer that question,
You're listening to the Labor Notes Podcast, our weekly show on rank and file news and organizing tactics. I'm Natascha Elena Uhlmann, a staff writer at Labor Notes.
And I'm Danielle Smith, an organizer at Labor Notes. And today I'm thinking about the lies bosses love to tell.
Ooh, like my hands are tied, we can't afford to pay you more?
Yeah, or like if you work late, you'll definitely be rewarded. Or my personal favorite, we're all a family here.
Yeah, I feel like if your boss hits you with the "we're a family" line, that's your sign to quit your job immediately. Or better yet, organize. Here's one I really enjoy. If you get a job on the apps, driving people around or doing food deliveries, you can be your own boss.
I hate that one. That is a big, huge lie.
Oh, hi, Luis. We're joined by Luis Fernando Mora Reyes, an app worker from Mexico City, who I spoke with for my recent piece, Mexico's Gig Workers Fight Efforts to Hollow Out Their Employee Status Win.
Welcome, Luis. We're glad to have you on the pod.
Hi, Natascha. Hi, Danielle. Thanks for the invitation, first of all. I'm glad here to be with you in the Labor Code podcast. First of all, we sent a big hug to all workers in the United States and the world from the UNTA in Mexico. And second, I think we have several topics to talk about. For example, that big lie that I am my own boss or that I have my time or whatever I want to do. So let's talk. Thank you.
Absolutely. Luis, your union, UNTA, the National App Workers Union, recently held a work stoppage across Mexico. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like and what you were fighting for?
Thanks for the question. Yes, we as UNTA, we participate in a global platform workers day of action, convened for May 15th. So it was an international action coordinated between organizations from different countries to demand full recognition of the labor rights of digital platform workers as me, as my comrade. So the action contemplates a day of disconnection or a stoppage free, as you said, in different regions of the world, where drivers naturally and deliveries turn off applications during strategic hours, for example, of high demand, in Mexico City from 9 to 12 in the morning, in Mexico from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at afternoon, and we coordinate actions in different states of Mexican Republic with that UNTA has presence. So with the international, we try to make visible the precarious conditions faced by millions of digital platform workers in the world, as well as to demand decent work conditions, fair payments, wages, security, benefits, transparency in the algorithm. So the Global Day of Action, we participate more like 15 countries from America Latina and Africa. So that was the point of our disconnection day. So I think that it was a great moment for us to stop, talk about union, take a breath, take some water, drink some coffee, and continue working later. So because we have to pay some bills.
One thing that I imagine is tricky about organizing in some of these conditions is also that it's not like there's a regular work site where workers are usually coming together, building relationships, and getting to know each other. How does that shape your organizing approach? What are you doing to build relationships with workers when they're so spread out?
Oh, thank you. That's a great question, because it's the question. It's the big question. Our union is an industrial union. That means that we organize all of workers, It doesn't mind if we are drivers, home office workers, YouTubers, deliveries. We are app workers. We are constructing a big one union. As Woobly said, Woobly of the International World Workers said 100 years before, only one big union to cover and work with all our comrades. So then our union has a national structure that starts from the bottom, to the top. We organized our union geographically. What that means, we understood that this job, is in constant movement and change. You have said that. So our workplace is the Mexican territory. All Mexican territory is our workplace. So it begins in the something called a local organization committee, called in Spanish, that you only need 11 app workers to confirm that the call. No, at this time we have calls in 5 states of Mexican Republic: Colima, Baja California, Tamaulipas, San Luis Potosí, and Guanajuato. These 5 Mexican states. Of course, we are growing and we have all other cameras but that have not conformed a call, but we have a member in each state of Mexican Republic, more or less. Then the code can create sections. This is the second level. And then is the National Executive Board, where I come from in Mexico City. I am part of the National Executive Board, the same in Mexico City. So in Spanish is Comité Ejecutivo Nacional. We believe in unionism and in new industrial unionism. We don't want a craft union because it will only divide us. This doesn't work, but we understand that our jobs are really different from the classic jobs in a factory, in a shop. So, but our shop is all Mexico. So imagine that's really impressive. So, in addition to demanding labor cognition, UNTA has resolved many problems in different parts of the Mexican Republic, where for most part of workers were persecuted and fined to making trips using ride-hailing apps. Has been our fight since several years ago. So even we have a union school called Casa del Obrero Digital. In English, is like something like House of Digital Worker. In Mexico, it's so common to call Casa del Obrero in Mexico. So named after the House of the World Workers here in Mexico. So our next fight will be at the bargaining table, and we are in that.
So, generally, when we hear about safety on the apps, it's usually about the safety of passengers. But what we don't talk about as much is that rideshare drivers are at risk for assaults and dangerous interactions. And not just with passengers, but law enforcement too, especially as this administration has escalated ICE operations. Just this month, here in the United States, U.S. Customs and Border Protection put out a release basically telling rideshare drivers in El Paso, Texas, that they'll be detained if they're suspected to be bringing people across the border. But you have organized around the issue of driver safety, and one thing I find really beautiful is the web of solidarity, as you called it, when we spoke earlier, that UNTA is building. Another worker, Luis Fernando Rivera, told me about group chats where if a driver feels unsafe, she can share her location, and any drivers in the area can come to de-escalate if necessary. And Luis, you and I talked about orange zones that the union has established, sort of like deliverista hubs that New York City app workers won, only without formal government backing. Can you tell us more about these zones? What do they do and how have you established them?
Sure. Thanks for the question. The orange zones are safe spaces for women, delivery workers who experience gender-based violence during their workday. Are safe places naturally for men too, but the point is for establish safe spaces for delivery women. They also, in these orange zones, have access to a safe restroom. In this job, in this work, in this job is really important. The restroom. I think that in all of jobs is important, but we don't have a restroom, so this is a point. So a place to rest. A place to charge our cell phones because it's our tool, our work tool, the cell phone, to rest some moment, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, but in in a safety place, and it's especially for delivery workers. Uh, these zones are established directly between our Secretary of Gender, Zaira Tobar, Garduño, and the local restaurants and cafes. Our gender secretary get in touch with those locals, And it's beautiful because it's solidarity between local establishments and the union and workers. They understand that they have many sales thanks of our work. So it's like thank you for your work, and come and take a glass of water, go to the restroom, rest a moment. We have more than 40 in Mexico City orange places, and another ones in the states. Such as Colima, for example. No, so these are the orange zones. That is really important because how um, the delivery is really a very dangerous job because we have to fight against the street, fight again on other drivers. In Mexico City, it's a really difficult city. You will see if you come here. So that's my answer. It's a great initiative for our Secretary of Gender, Zaira Tobar.
UNTA won a major victory in 2024 when a labor law reform passed recognizing Mexico's 1.2 million app based workers as employees, making them eligible for benefits like Social Security and housing programs. Something like that feels almost impossible to imagine here in the US. How did that happen?
Oh, well, thanks for the question. Well, it's a long story. If you have time, I will try to make it briefly. But, we started some years before. It's like a story when some time ago, apps arrived in Mexico about 2013. Uber was the first one. Then Corner Shop in 2015. Then Uber Eats, the delivery way, in 2016. Let's see. Of course, Rappi. I work in Rappi. In the same year as Uber Eats, DiDi in 2018, in Driving in 2019. I remember DiDi, of course, DiDi Food in the same year as in Driver. So, UNTA, we were the answer of all these enterprise organizations. In these moments, there were some examples of drivers organization, WhatsApp groups, some kinds of march, and But UNTA was founded in 2020, and since the beginning, it has been committed to the defense, study of course, and advancement of rights and interests of our digital platform comrades, always guided by the following principles. These principles, you can find it in our estatutos. In the United States, it's like the Union Constitution, but in Mexico, it's something called estatuto. So our principles are class independence, autonomy, democracy, of course, transparency, and representativeness. So it's really important for us, the democratic way. So, and that everybody can have a word in our organization. So then at 2021, we made a photo called App-Based Workers, and we started working with Ministry of Labor, or as in Mexico, we don't have ministry. We have Secretary of Labor, and local and at state level, and then at the federal level. And it's the same at the United States, I think so. So because we are republics and we are federal, all of this stuff. So we start the dialogue with Mexico City, the local government of Ministry of Labor, of the Secretary of Labor. Then in February, this topic was taken by the Ministry of Labor, but at a federal level. So it's really important because our demands, our proposals, turn into a federal territorial way, not only from Mexico City. That's really important for us. Then by August 2022, we made a manifiesto de piso mínimo de las trabajadoras y trabajadores de plataformas digitales. So like a standard floor for all digital platform workers. This document was really, really, really important. I need to remember this document forever because it was jointly drafted by all digital platform workers organization in Mexico, or the ones that have existence in that moment, including unions, collectives, and cooperatives. So it was really important for us in order to present to the government our expectations, our proposals for legislation to regulate platform work. For example, we made a definition of worker for platform worker. I think that it's the first time in all the world that it had happened that based on flexible working time with discontinuous shifts. We made a definition of employer of digital platform workers. It was really, really important because we fight to recognize the employment relationship. If we recognize that, then we can have all the benefits for all the duty. So about we work a worker. So wage of payment with recognition of connection time. This is so important for the next that I'm going to tell you. Protocols to prevent, of course, and punish sexual harassment and discrimination. Then comprehensive social security protection, and of course, the personal data. So I tell this to you because 1 month ago, our General Secretary Sergio Guerrero was in the 140th session of the International Labor Conference in Geneva, ILO, of UN, United Nations. And we fight and won the Convention 198 on decent work in platform economy. This is so important because when you read this paper, you can find some topics that are not the same, but you can smell this something about our manifesto, like the definition of a worker, employer, employee. For example, the right to a union and to bargain in a collective bargain unit. So this is really, really important for us. So we're actually in the union. We are studying this new convention at this moment. After this, we have a session of studying the convention. So it's really important because we have to adapt and make real proposals to adapt this or make into a better way our law. We want to improve it. So then we continue talking about the manifesto in several places. We make other forums. Then arrived our Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo. During the campaign, Claudia Sheinbaum includes the labor rates of workers. Then when she won the election, the first Mexican president in the history, that's really important. I don't know. I think that she started her period in October. And by October 21, 22, she signed a legislative initiative and submitted to a Congress to approve a new law for us. So it was historical for us. It was like no other way in our history of workers. And I can believe that for the class worker history, it could be something new, But it's really important for us because maybe we can, in many, many, many years, in the future, we can talk about, do you remember when we won? That's going to be so great. So then the bill was approved by unanimous in the Congress in 2024, and in December it was published. So it's a new law. The thing you can believe, that's beautiful. Why are you just fighting? Why you need to improve it? Because all human laws need to be improved. The time changed, so our conditions changed. So the pilot program starts from July to December of the last year of 2025. The pilot program, it was the application of labor legislation and how it's going to be at the law at the end.
Yeah, one thing I think you started getting to, but when I was speaking with app workers for this story, what I heard over and over again was, it's an incredible win, but the bar to actually qualify for these benefits is still way too high. Can you tell us more?
Well, this is the horrible part of the story. What did Mexican law establish? This is really important to understand because we don't want that in other places, other governments do the same position. The law regulates and recognizes the employment relationship in digital platforms. At this point, you say, "Oh, wow, that's great, beautiful, no? Granting labor rights and secure social security, tal. But if and only if you generate a monthly net income equivalent at least at one monthly minimum wage in Mexico City. Monthly wage in Mexico City is about 9,582 pesos. So it's like $557 per month. I know you are going to say, "Oh, this is not so much money." Yes, we know that, but well, it's the minimum wage in Mexico. So if you don't reach that income, you will be considered an independent worker. And what that means, well, we fought since the beginning for a time income base, time model since the moment that I logged in the app till I turn it off. So the Mexican law established an income-based monthly model that does not guarantee a minimum income. That is, it depends on the productive capacity of each worker, and it's not the same if you drive a car, a motorcycle, or a bicycle. You can make the same. For example, at the start of the month, you are independent worker. You only have medical coverage in cases of accidents, illness, or during actual time. But if you pass the income required by the government, at the end of the month, you will be recognized as subordinate to employment relationship with full rights. Imagine that all platform workers is more or less like 1.5 million. But imagine that only 10% of these 1 million pass this recognition way. Imagine we start believing that it could be only simulación in Spanish, and it's really dangerous for us, because if you are recognized as an employee, you have access to house loans, profit sharing, comprehensive medical security coverage, sickness and maternity, disability and life, retirement, unemployment and old age, childcare and social security benefits. But if you don't pass that income, you're only independent worker. So, and it's really important because this year we received our first profit sharing pay. So what's the problem? The monthly net income is determined, and this is the horrible part of all this, is determined by calculating total earning minus an exclusion percentage, which accounts the cost of work tools, as you know, vehicles, maintenance, insurance, fuel, and expenses. And that formula income has been calculated by companies. So imagine companies can propose 80%. That was their proposal, 85% of exclusion percentage. Imagine. So the four problematic points are: work time is not recognized. So this is one. In the income-based model, only hours during which revenue is guaranteed rate, are counted as effective work time. I hate that word. I hate that language, including periods of inactivity or assignments. All connections must be, this is our proposal, all connection time must be counted as work time, not only effective work time. That is from the moment employees log in until we log out. Second, companies continue to shift labor costs onto workers. In Mexican labor law, companies need to pay that tools, boots, helmets, bags, but no, they are continuing to shift labor costs onto workers. That means the provision of work tools continue to fall on us, the workers, which we consider is unfair. That's unfair. So we propose that company contribute to covering maintenance and insurance. They need to pay this bill. So 3, intermittent employment relationship. As you will know, if you don't pass this border, you are an independent worker, and I don't have social security complete, But if I pass in the next month, I have complete social security. That is intermittent. So this undermines the job security. This undermines. Okay, insufficient algorithmic management policy. While the federal labor law in Mexico es Ley Federal del Trabajo requires company to inform workers about how the algorithm works. In reality, the platform still do not explain how it works to us. That's unfair too. So, and if we want to bargain, we need to know how they calculate travel, deliver. So that's part of the collective bargaining table fight. But if we don't know, we don't have that information. Well, that is not fair for us. So
I've just got one last question for you. Why do you hate the line that at work means being your own boss so much?
Oh, I think that I can make a podcast only for answer that question. Even to write several books and to talk about give several seminaries and a lot of that kind of scholar stuff, because it's pure ideology imposed by corporations. This is the assimilation. This discourse is the assimilation of company discourse, entrepreneurship, aspirationism. It's so beautiful for us because we suffer a lot in Latam. I know in all the world, I know, but I'm talking about our brothers and sisters of Latam. But it's a way to escape these kind of discourses, but they are pure ideology. These discourses, they bury class identity and therefore the class struggle. I am not my own boss. I am not a partner. Since I am not a shareholder, nor do I have the capital. I don't have anything of that stuff. So I have three bosses. I told this to Natascha. The company, which disconnects me if I don't do things by the way. The consumer who evaluates my performance, and the government which can retain me. So I am not, nor do I want to be a boss. I don't need to rule or control anything.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on the pod, Luis. Well, that's our episode. You can learn more about this important fight in my piece, Mexico's Gig Workers Fight Efforts to Hollow Out Their Employee Status Win, on labornotes.org. We've also translated it into Spanish with the title Los trabajadores por aplicación luchan por hacer valer sus derechos bajo la reforma laboral. We've linked both versions of the piece in the episode description. Please rate us or leave us a review on Apple or Spotify. If you're listening to us on Podbean at labornotespodcast.podbean.com, please download our episode.
And if you have any organizing stories to share, tell us about it in writing or put it in a voice note and send it to podcast@labornotes.org. We would love to answer your questions in an episode and maybe even have you on. Also, if you're ready for more Labor Notes workshops after the conference, mark your calendars because we've got some good online sessions coming up. Our next Secrets of a Successful Organizer series is on Wednesdays, July 29th, August 5th, and August 12th. And our next Stewards workshop is in August on the topic of thinking like an organizer on Monday, August 10th. We're also going to have a session of what to do when your union breaks your heart on August 18th, and that will have Spanish interpretation provided. You can sign up for all of our online workshops at labornotes.org/events.
The Labor Notes podcast is produced by Daniel Smith, Sindhu Sundar, and myself. Our title music was written and performed by our coworker, Keith Barrow Brown. See you next week. Solidarity, y'all.